Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress. Norway Chess 2018 has started. It will be played from Sunday, May 27th till Thursday, June 8th. And these are the 10 participants. Magnus Carlsen leads the way. Fabiano Caruana, his challenger, is there. Shahryar Mamedyarov plays in Norway for the first time. Ding Liren from China. The French genius Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. Sergei Karyakin. Two more giants from US chess, Wesley So and Hikaru Nakamura. Levon Aronian is still a top player, and the previous world champion Vishwanathan Anand is also participating. 10 of the top 13 players in the world according to the May rating list. The only 3 players missing from the top 13 are Vladimir Kramnik, number 4, Anish Giri, number 9, and Alexander Grishuk, number 11. Sunday, May 27th saw the Blitz tournament, and that is used as a drawing of lots. There are 10 players, so there are 9 rounds, which means there's an odd number of games, and it's not possible for each player to play the same number of games with white as with black. Of course, every player wants to play with white. It's like in tennis. If you have the serve in tennis, you have an advantage, and if you have the white pieces at the top level of chess, you also have an advantage. So all players want to play 5 games with white and 4 with black. And the top 5 from the Blitz tournament will play an extra game with white. And these were the results of the Blitz tournament. Wesley So won with 6 points out of 9 games. He won 4 games, he drew 4 games, and he lost only once. He finished the tournament very strongly with 3.5 out of 4, and that gave him the win. Nakamura and Anand were half a point behind. They also will play 5 games with white in the real tournament. Magnus Carlsen will play 5 whites and Shahryar Mamedyarov. The 5 players who ended in 6th to 10th place, Vachier-Lagrave, Caruana, Karyakin, Aronian and Liren, will play 5 games with black in the main event. The game I will show you from the Blitz event is from round 3 between not only classical world champion but also Blitz world champion Magnus Carlsen with white and tournament winner Wesley So with black from the 3rd round of the Blitz. It's Sunday the 27th of May 2018. Knight f3 was played by Carlsen and d5 by So. g3, bishop g4, bishop g2, e6, Carlsen castled, knight f6, d4, bishop e7, c4, c6, knight c3, and now Wesley So castled. We have a hybrid between the Queen's Gambit, declined, the Semi-Slav and the Catalan with that bishop on g2. Black's Queen's Bishop is outside of the pawn chain. That is also a factor in his opening. It had been played before, but not many times. Carlsen played Queen b3, attacking the weak pawn on b7 with that bishop gone from c8. Queen b6 from Wesley So and knight e5. So does not want to lose his bishop on g4. He wants to keep the bishop pair, so he played his bishop to h5. Bishop f4 developing. Knight bd7 developing. And that knight was swapped. Knight takes. Knight takes. And here Carlsen played e4. Also played before. That pawn was taken. Carlsen took back with the knight. And rook f d8. Rook f e1, knight f6, and knight c5. And here Wesley So thought for an eternity. He thought for 1 minute and 16 seconds, which is a very long time in a Blitz game. He may have thought about taking the pawn, although that doesn't look great, because then white can take the pawn on b7. And this bishop suddenly gets a lot stronger with that b7 pawn gone. So, not sure what Wesley So spent his time on, but in the end he decided to take the queen and play a queenless middle game. A takes b3, and now still it's not good to take on d4 because of knight takes b7. So Wesley So decided to take on c5. d takes c5 and a6. b4, Carlsen goes forward on the queen side. Rook ac8, and white cannot oppose the rook on the open file because the d1 square is in black's hands. You cannot play a rook to d1. White could regain control over d1 by pushing that bishop away with h3 and g4. It's one of the ideas that the engine gives. But Carlsen decides to play bishop e5 after 24 seconds thought. Wesley So plays bishop g6, so gives up control over the d1 square. He is starting a plan to put some pressure on white's queenside pawns with that bishop, as we'll see. Carlsen puts a rook on the open file now that d1 is accessible for his pieces. There comes bishop d3, attacking the pawn on c4. b3 to defend that pawn, and bishop c2. Now attacking the b3 pawn and the rook. Carlsen takes on d8, rook takes, and Carlsen plays the correct move, b5. The bishop takes on b3, and Carlsen takes on a6, b takes, and bishop takes c6. Bishop takes c4. Black is temporarily a pawn up, but bishop b7 is the right move. Black's plan has not worked out, going after those queenside pawns. White is now seriously better with this strong passed pawn, which is a lot stronger than the pawn on a6. Carlsen has a big advantage now. Bishop d5, c6, the pawn advances, rook back to f8, and Carlsen decides to take the knight, g takes, and then he takes the pawn on a6. King g7, f4, this is move 30, so both players were very low on time. f5, and here the best way to play is rook a5. Carlsen did not find a maneuver. If you then play, for example, king f6 to activate your king, then there is rook takes d5. Very nice. E takes d5 and c7. White's next move is c8, and black will have to give his rook, and white will remain a piece up. If after rook a5 instead of king f6 you see that exchange sacrifice and you play bishop e4 to avoid the rook taking the bishop, then the rook goes behind the pawn. And if you bring your king closer, for example, then there is bishop a6 taking the pawn out of the pin, and now c7 will be coming, and white is controlling the c8 square, and this is a winning position for white. So this is after f5, and then bishop, and then rook a5. Carlsen played something else. After 1 second he decided to bring his king closer. Very logical. King f6, king e3, king e7. Black also brings his king closer to the danger zone. King d4, king d6. But now Carlsen finds the best way. He plays c7 check. And Carlsen is not going to win on the queen side anymore. He's now going to win on the king side. Very strong c7 check. The king took the pawn, and bishop takes d5. If you take back, then king takes d5. White's king is more active than black's king, and these pawns are very weak. This is a winning rook endgame for white. Also his rook is better placed than black's rook for the moment. So after bishop takes d5, taking back is not good. Wesley So found a way to continue. Rook d8, pinning the bishop. He wants to take the bishop with his rook. Rook a5 was played by Carlsen. The best move would have been rook c6 check. Then the king has to go to b8, very far away from the action, and then rook c5. That's the best way to play, according to the engine. Carlsen played rook a5 instead. King b6 from So, and now rook c5. Here the best way to play for black to put up resistance is rook d6, and then I give you the main variation from the engine. King c4, then black has to take the bishop is no longer pinned. E takes d5, rook takes d5, and rook f6, and black can still fight, even though this is also a bad rook endgame for him. But Wesley So did not find rook d6, he played a blunder, f6, and Carlsen immediately saw the refutation, played rook c6 check, almost dropped the pawn while making the move, and Wesley So immediately saw what he had done, and he extended his hand in resignation. After a king move, for example king b5, the rook is taking that pawn on e6, and white will remain a bishop up. This was round 3. Carlsen had started with 2 draws, and this was his first win. So had started with a win against Ding in the first round, and then he made a draw, and with this loss got back on 50%. But as mentioned, he finished the tournament very strongly with 3.5 out of 4, and won the Blitz event with 6 points out of 9 games. The real event will start on Monday, May 28th at 4:30 p.m. Norwegian time, that's Central European time. And I will be here after the game to tell you what happens. I'm planning to do daily videos on every round of Norway Chess. Hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel. Please leave a comment. Tell me who you think will win Norway Chess 2018. I will read all comments and I will reply to them. You also may want to check out my Chess to Progress channel. The link is in the description box. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.